member. So one of the things that I think really came from the experiment was, we went into it thinking, okay, we're gonna give them a bunch of great things to do and they're gonna enjoy it. Like, oh my God, Modesto's awesome, we're gonna talk about it. But what the few of them shared was that for as much as, there were great things to do and gave them a great menu of experiences, it was really about the time that we were creating for them, and that changed their impression more than anything. So she talked about being able to sleep a little bit later. There was one really good story, actually a couple, but specifically Monique and Mikey, the young couple, and I was out with Mikey that night. He's a friend of mine. So we're all hanging out, and he's getting text messages all night. She worked late, so she wasn't there at the time. She just wanted to go home and go to sleep. And we're at Ralston's Goat. And so eventually he's like, oh guys, I gotta go for 10 minutes. I gotta go kiss my wife goodnight, and I'm gonna be back. I promise. And so because he was literally right up the street, he walked up the street, kissed his wife goodnight, came back out, and had this most epic night. Just amazingness. And so there's that element, again, because you're so close to everything, including your wife. And so that was something that was really cool that came out of it. Relationships, one of the things we talked about, and it really validates what NLN is doing right now, is because of the relationships that we have, but then we cultivated more. Rachel was something that we just, we met her a week before we invited her out to the project, and so it was like, oh yeah, you'd be great, and so she was great. Our relationship with Cole at the Doubletree, he hooked us up and let us use all the rooms for free. So there's just a lot of relationships that made finding people and plugging them into the experience really cool, and so that helped a lot. We talked a little bit about the implications for businesses, and so one of the things that came to mind was one of the struggles that Nathaniel and Shai were having was that they had a baby. So they were pushing this baby around in a stroller, 8-month-old. And so whether it was kind of maneuvering around the sidewalks and up and down the ramps there, or specifically trying to maneuver through some of the retail shops where the aisles were really crowded, so they're trying to figure out where to park the baby while we go look at something over here. So there's different things that we were learning through that experience, and we almost were running a little secret shopper program. We'll be able to go back and inform the businesses about that. So that's there, and then I think finally, so one of the things that we were trying to do is basically see how much, if we create these really awesome experiences, how much that would lead people to share, and share this positive story about Modesto. And I think what we ended up finding was, or maybe less so, it was less about the experiences. It was less, oh, I had this great night, so I'm gonna share it. But there was a lot of, that we believe in your cause, we believe in your mission, we want to be a part of building this better Modesto. So even though I don't really post to social media that much, I'm gonna do it this time because I know how important it is. And so we're thinking about, what can we do to create the why, the cause for sharing, more so than about just the experiences, and that'll kind of help in that storytelling. So those are kind of the key insights or takeaways.
Awesome. Okay, so it sounds like everything went super smooth the entire process, and we were like the A-team, right? But it didn't actually start that way, because Olga and I were part of, you guys all may recall, there was a prevention team that was formed, and Darm Standler. And the three of us, after having some conversation about it that first day, or
Olga's head exploded because of it.
True. And we were going nowhere.
Yeah, this is funny.
We had no plan for anything.
Okay, yeah. Anyway, Olga left, and I followed her. No, actually, what happened is we decided that prevention has so many great programs going for it right now. There's a lot going on with regard to literacy and the focus on prevention program, homelessness, and immigrant reform and stuff like that with Mometo's work. And so we decided we needed to get on board with helping to promote those things that are happening and build awareness around them. So we want to join the, what's the name of the team?
You guys were doing branding.
Rebranding team, which has the promotion element in it, right? So we're we think this team will be good for us. Unfortunately, we kind of jumped over right when they were finishing, or they had already finished, basically just establishing the point of view or the vision. And so when we started out, Olga and I weren't really sure what we were trying to accomplish. And so this is a lazy Z, right? Then fast forward and we go to the Stanford Design School, and we put our project together. But in my mind, I'm thinking, we were going to set up people in Doubletree Hotel with gift cards and an itinerary all laid out, and that doesn't translate to downtown housing. There's a disconnect there. So I'm having a struggle understanding this, and Olga, I think, was having a struggle not really being sure what the group's intent was or what their objective was, because we didn't really have a chance to go over that as a team. So we got together again right after we got back from the second retreat and had a conversation about, well, what are we trying to do? And I think that's when we started to really gel as a team, because we developed a common understanding of the objective being one of creating a positive image and telling a positive story versus trying to create a project so much. The project was a means to that end versus the other way around. And I think so. I'm just going to read some of what people said here as we were discussing what we learned. Amy was great at soliciting input and make sure everybody was involved in the process. She really tried to like reach out and be that person that was kind of the glue in a way for our team. So she did a great job with that. We felt like we had diverse skills and perspectives. Each one of us brings like a different mindset to the table. And I was at Rotary a couple weeks ago, and they had people on one side of a 9 or a 6, depending on what side you're standing on, right? And they're looking at the same number, and they're like arguing over. Do you remember this? They're arguing over, is it a 9 or a 6? And it's important to like take the time to go through the process to understand what you're looking at and understand one another's perspectives. And I think we didn't even fully do that until today, because we'd done a little bit of that, but we're so busy trying to get the project delivered, and we kind of gelled and we're working toward that common cause. But I think today, when we were clearing it, all of our perspectives came out much more clearly, and we had a greater grasp for how each one of us felt and what each one of us learned and what each one of us brought to the process. So we talked about how communicating the vision was something we did, but we could have done a little bit better. We could have done a better job of accommodating schedules and scheduling our time together in general. We got together several times, like 4 or 5 times as a team, or maybe 3 or 4 times as a team, and I wasn't able to participate in one meeting because it was a Saturday and I had been out running work errands all day, and it was like a last minute, like, hey, can we get together at Reggie's office? And my wife was like about ready to kill me, so I had to stay home. So they met without me. But it would have been a good thing for us to, if we weren't rushing through this, to take a little bit more time to schedule. And they're very gracious in saying, hey, we should have accommodated you more. Even though I think they did a fine job without me. Reggie said that he takes ownership and charge in very strong terms sometimes. So he was thinking, I think you were thinking, that this is a good thing, but it can also be a struggle. What were you thinking in that?
I forget exactly.
I have that written here.
Yeah, so I forget what the 2-prong thing was, but I think it was just what I recognized about myself.
Okay. And I tend to defer. I actually joined the prevention team because there was nobody going to it. I'm actually interested in economic development and education, but I joined the other team because they needed more people. So I went over there, and then that didn't work out. So I joined this team because that team was joining this team. But then I felt like as I was deferring to things and not really understanding them, I felt a greater need to assert myself, and so I asserted myself like strongly sometimes, unnaturally, because I had deferred early on. So that was like something I learned about myself, Let's see what else we have here. We've discovered that a great level of empathy is needed for us and active listening and communication early on and often is necessary for us to really build something better as a team, and that we did some of that, but we could have done more along the way. But in the end, we think we killed it, and we made a great team together, and we had an awesome project, and it brought a lot of great community image. It helped to develop the image of the community substantially. Hopefully we'll foster a long-term buzz about housing downtown that we can connect in with efforts for economic development in the future.
Awesome. So in 1 minute, what's the future hold?
Well, so we do have, this was literally like just we want to show them something on this week, so put something together. There will be a longer video that we'll put together. Then we've talked about, showing putting it on the government TV channel, and maybe even an extended version beyond that, trying to get it in front of developers and being like, hey, like this is what we're trying to accomplish, like, let's make something happen. So we want to take this project and put it in front of people and create more conversations.
Take it to the city council.
That's what I was about to say, the same.